So, can you keep your house if you file bankruptcy in Georgia? One of the biggest concerns anyone has when they're filing bankruptcy is, can I keep my house? I get it. You need to keep your house if you file bankruptcy. Nobody wants to lose their house unless you do want to lose your house when you're filing bankruptcy. All right. So, just a little bit of background to answer this question. Georgia filers usually file Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. So, we're going to talk about those two. We're not going to talk about Chapter 11 because not a lot of people file but most people in Georgia file Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. Chapter 7 is that chapter of bankruptcy where you get a quick discharge of your unsecured debts. It wipes the slate clean of credit cards, medical bills. Chapter 13, on the other hand, is the type of bankruptcy where you enter into a 3 to 5 year payment plan and you get a discharge at the end of it, but certain things can be paid off during that time, like secured debts or priority debts, like taxes or domestic support obligations. Let's talk about Chapter 7 first. Chapter 7 is what's referred to as a liquidation chapter of bankruptcy. So you list your assets and then you list exemptions next to those assets saying that creditors can't touch them or that a Chapter 7 trustee can't take that property, liquidate it, and give the money to creditors that you're discharging. So in order for you to protect your house, you have to use a bankruptcy exemption that's going to protect your house. Now, Georgia is what we call an opt-out state. So if you've lived in Georgia for 730 days, you have to use Georgia bankruptcy exemptions. So if the equity in your house is not covered by the Georgia bankruptcy exemption, then you could potentially lose your house in bankruptcy. If your house is covered by the Georgia bankruptcy exemption, then your house would be protected and the Chapter 7 trustee couldn't take your house if you were to file bankruptcy. Now, you have to be very careful of what exemption you're allowed to use if you file Chapter 7 in Georgia. So if you haven't lived in Georgia for 730 days, you may have to use another state's exemption or the federal exemptions. So that's very, very important to look into. But at any rate, in order to save your house in Chapter 7, you need to be covered by the Georgia homestead exemption or whatever exemption that you qualify to use if you live in Georgia and you file Chapter 7 in Georgia. All right, Chapter 13 is a little bit different stories. If you file Chapter 13 in Georgia, you're not just relying on your Georgia homestead exemption to protect your house. So let's say, for example, that the equity in your house is over what the Georgia homestead exemption is. In that case, what people do, what filers do, is they put that unexempt equity into their 3 to 5 year payment plan. And then the payments over the 3 to 5 years can make up for that unexempt amount. If the equity in your home is over what the Georgia homestead exemption is, you can put that unexempt amount into your Chapter 13 plan. And over the 3 or 5 year period, pay what that over exempt amount is. So your house is protected by coming up with the unexempt amount and paying it over the 3 or 5 years. Now, a lot of people file Chapter 13 because their house is about to be repossessed or foreclosed on. And obviously, Chapter 13 will protect your house as soon as you file. So what people do is they take their mortgage arrears, the amount that they're behind on their mortgage, and they put it in their 3 or 5 year plan. And that can be paid back over that time period. So let's say you owe $10,000 on your mortgage and mortgage lender wants to repossess because you owe that much to them. So what a lot of people do is they file Chapter 13 before the foreclosure, and then they put that amount, that arrearage, in this case, in our example, $10,000, into the 3 to 5 year plan. They continue to make their regular mortgage payment, and then they also pay that through the 3 to 5 year plan. So at the end of the Chapter 13 case, that amount is caught up, that past due arrearage is caught up. So Chapter 13 is a very useful way to save your house in bankruptcy. Sometimes these happen at the same time. Sometimes simultaneously you're over exempt and there's an arrearage. So you can file and you can pay back the arrearage, and then you can also pay the amount you're over exempt to the bankruptcy trustee. So you can keep your house if you file bankruptcy in Georgia. As a matter of fact, it might be a great way to keep your house if you're going to lose your house if you file bankruptcy in Georgia for the reasons we talked about, for paying your unexempt amount or catching up in arrearage through Chapter 13, for example. Just have to give you guys the disclaimer. This is not legal advice. Everybody's situation is different. Whether or not you should file Chapter 7, file Chapter 13 depends on your unique financial situation. If you're wondering how much the Georgia bankruptcy homestead exemption is, I'll put a link to the Georgia bankruptcy exemption page so that you can check out the specific Georgia homestead exemption. That changes a lot. We want to make sure that's up to date. So if you check that out, that will be up to date on that page. And I'll drop it down here either in the comment or the description. And I also just want to say thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for watching the channel. Please like and subscribe. Please bookmark usbankruptcyhelp.com. We're going to provide as much useful content to you so you can make decisions based on your specific details, based on what's going on in your life. And we want to continue to serve you. Thank you so much.